Hello and welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Game Time and we come today with a lot of mixed emotions, I guess. There is, of course, some sort of joy that the medal streak at the World Championship for India continues with Satwik, Sairaj, Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty getting a bronze. There's also a tinge of disappointment that they couldn't make it to the final, but there's also a pleasant surprise served by PV Sindhu, who continues to kind of improve after a troublesome couple of years. And then there was also a slight bit of surprise from the mixed doubles. At the same time, disappointment in men's singles from Lakshya Sen, but, well, a few other performances that kind of balanced it out. A fun week to follow badminton, and to discuss that, we have with us our in-house badminton experts, Vinayakk Mohanarangan, Shivani, Naik. Welcome. Who wants to go first and where do we start first? I think just because they won the medal, Vinayakk, Shivani, we should start with Satwik and Chirag. Shivani, does the medal make you happy or it leaves you with a sort of regret?
No, I'm just very greedy, so I always want gold, and they're capable of it. But no, it's a happy medal. After what happened at the Olympics, it's definitely a happy medal, considering the fact that they've beaten two pairings which they had found difficult in the lead up to the Olympics and at the Olympics. So it's a happy medal that way. We should ideally be very content and whatever. But then, no harm in being greedy and, wanting to get that gold, like at the next possible opportunity, which will be next year.
I mean, look at China, right? When we talk about greedy, they've got players in all 5 medal matches, gold medal matches. So talk about being greedy and benevolent, whatever it is. But Vinayakk, Shivani mentioned the great redemption that Satwik and Chirag had, more so because of the personal difficulties they've had to overcome, right? Post-Paris. Both of them have had a very tough time off the court too. And it was nice to see that a lot of things came together for them this week after everything that had gone not so according to plan for the rest of the months.
Yeah, Mihir, I was actually messaging someone before the tournament began, and one of the things that I mentioned was I actually feel good about Satwik-Chirag's draw because it makes sure that they are dialed in from the word go. Like when we saw the draw, it is clearly a draw from hell because they had to face Liang Wang first in the round of 16 and then Chia and So in the quarters. 2 pairs, like Shivani mentioned, have caused them a lot of troubles, a lot of heartache in the past. Most notably, Chia and So at the Paris Olympics last year at the quarterfinal stage where they'd be meeting again this year in Paris. But I had a feeling that it's good because sometimes these sort of draws tend to make you alert and prepare probably a little harder, make sure that you're not easing into the tournament. Even the first round draw had a Chinese type pair. The second round, the first round was a bye. That was quite tricky to handle. Yang Ko and the lefty is a very tricky customer. So yeah, I think in a way it was good because they came and they were dialed in from the word go. And those 2 wins, I think irrespective of the slight bittersweet nature of the bronze medal right now, I agree with Shivani. It's a very happy medal. It's like I had written, it's not exactly redemption because I'm sure that if you ask them whether they would like to beat Iron Chia the quarterfinals of the Olympics or the quarterfinals of the World Championships, I'm 100% sure they'd say the Olympics, right? So it's probably not redemption, but it just puts together a tough period. It's a culmination of a tough period for them and make sure that, it reminds everyone that they're still around. They're still one of the best top 3-4 pairs in the world. Yeah, so those 2 wins are definitely something worth building on. But yeah, the semi-final defeat left a little bit of a bitter taste in the end just because they had a really good start, they were playing well, and then they just came undone by one tactic from the Chinese pair. They just flick served. The flick serve caused a lot of trouble for the Indians, and it's something that they need to work on. It used to be the tumble serve. Now I'm guessing they're expecting the tumble serve and then not being ready for the flick serve. I don't quite know what's happening, but yeah, the service return situation is something that definitely need to work on going forward.
Great point about them also serving a reminder that they're still around because post-Paris, I think there were a few doubts raised about how far can they go, right? There were questions that LA is still 4 years away, whether they'll still be there, and if they're there, whether they'll be at the same form, same level 4 years down the line. Satwik, one conversation I had with him after Paris, he said that 2025 would be an experimental year for them. New coach coming in. They both had some ideas which they wanted to work on. In that sense, 2025 was a year they would experiment. And we saw that in the build-up to the World Championships and kind of peaked at the right time, I guess. But Shivani, what changes do you see if we were to look at the Chia So match. We'll talk about the semifinals against the Chinese pair in a bit, but if we were to compare the two quarterfinals, same players, same venue, roughly the same month of the year too, the results were extremely opposite. So what difference did you notice compared to Paris Olympics?
Okay, so I think one thing we need to sort of understand is they are following the whole Sindhu path, okay, where she lost a couple of World Championship finals. She also had 2 bronzes, and then eventually she worked on every aspect of the game because every aspect was sort of exposed. So then she went about plugging those gaps. So it's the same with Satwik-Chirag as well. They have come to grips with the flat game that the Chinese or the Malaysians or the Indonesians play. So, they've really skilled up for that. They've learned new things. Satwik does tend to play a lot more on the front court. And like you said, it is still in an experimental stage, that entire rotation routine. But that was one notable thing. They're trying it out and they're sticking by it because they need to have this flexibility of either of them playing the front court. So it's not a finished product yet. So that is good. They are still learning. And they could use it like properly against both the Chinese as well as the Malaysian pair. And even against the pair that they lost to in the semis, the Chinese, Liu and Chen, I think there's, like Vinayakk pointed out, the flick serve. Now, it's frankly something that caught them by surprise, but it's not something that cannot be handled. There are solutions very readily available if they are prepared for it. But then again, that's a gap that will need to be plugged. So that's how the nature of their career is going to be. They lose and then they learn and then come back and beat the same pairs. So those are the things that...
What happens with the flick serve? Like if we were to kind of look at the tumble serve and the flick serve, why is it tricky to kind of handle it flip serve?
See, basically, you're trying to gain dominance at the net. You're trying to attack control from the net. The entire momentum is forward. Now, with the flick serve, you're pushed back, right? So you have to backtrack. You have to move. Like you are going against your natural momentum, direction, or the plan of being at the net and then trying to finish off the rally at the net. So flick serve can be completely boggling. I think Indians use it very well against others. But now they have to be prepared to, be at the receiving end of it also. Again, it's not something that is difficult to tackle, but I think it took them by surprise yesterday because I think it kind of suddenly started also towards the end of the second set, and that Liu was completely unstoppable. He was like absolutely possessed.
Vinayakk, just how the semi-final unraveled, right? I mean, started off very strongly. Remember, I think, was it midway through the first game or the second game when the coach said that, everything's going fine. There's no need to kind of change a lot of things. And then was it just the flick serve that troubled them, or there was something more profound which completely swung the momentum in the Chinese favor?
So at the point of recording, I'm just fresh off watching the replay of the match. So it's in the middle of the first game, what you were referring to, right? That I just started the piece that I'm working on with that exactly, actually. Coach Dan Kimmer came up as Indians, as a Satwik and Chirag were leading 11-5, was very calm. Everything is fine, nothing to worry about. Just organize yourself, attack side by side, couple of other things. This is proper Zen master types. And the coaching break at the end of the second game was the complete opposite. I'd never seen Coach Stan that animated. He was like, you guys are rushing. Don't play with ego. Don't smash everything. Just think about smashing. And the Indians had actually won the second game, but it just got really tight in the end where, again, they had a big lead at 16-11 and then the Chinese fought back, caught up, and it made for a very nervy ending. And Coach Stan was also feeling the heat of the battle at that point, I suppose. So yeah, like Shivani mentioned, at the end of the second game, the flick serve started coming more frequently. And I know people hate sometimes when we use cricket references in another sport discussion, but this reminded me slightly of the raging turners, right? Like on the raging turners, the ball that doesn't turn is as dangerous as the ball that does turn, sometimes even more. So I think at some point, the thought of the flick serve started scrambling the Indians' minds that they were not preparing themselves for the slightly more the tumble serve or the soft serve, the short ones, and they started netting much more. The service returns started going into the net more because I think they were almost on the back foot waiting for the flick serve, and then suddenly they weren't sure. Like what Shivani was saying, it just completely upset the rhythm that these guys had, and the Chinese used flick serves much more than you would see in a match, but it also made their other serves more potent because the Indians were not quite sure what was going on. I think at the mid-game interval, which after that nightmare 9-0 start to the third game, I think that's where the match was eventually lost when Chinese went up 9-0 at the start of the game, the third game. That interval, Coach Stan almost said, like, be ready for the flick and then react to the shorter serve. So, yeah, I think they started thinking too much about it. It just upset their game plans completely. And you're not recovering from a 9-0 start as much as we've seen Satwik-Chirag come back from that sort of deficit in the past. But at the semifinals of the World Championships, I think that's where the match was lost. 9-0 at the start of third game. Yeah, it completely ruined the match for them.
Yeah, it did.
Mihir, there's this other thing where I think Satwik and to a lesser extent Chirag also, the short smash is also something, I mean, they're great with the full-blooded smash, okay, which gets depth. But that short smash from the net is something that was repeatedly going into the net, even in previous matches. So that's one thing that they'll have to sort of figure it out. I don't know if it's like a technical thing. I mean, Lakshya has a very good short smash, but it's more risky. I think Satwik and Chirag, when put under pressure, that particular shot also let them down. And the Chinese attack is comparable to the Indians. So that Chen guy is like, he's massive. And also Liu has a lot of aggression. So those were key things.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just the short smash, because I remember while the match was going on, texting Vinayakk, who was doing the live blog, that if I remember correctly, I think it was 4 or 5 points after the break in the second game, when the Chinese pair got like a bunch of points together. Or was it the first game itself? They had some 7-8 points in quick succession, and half of them were just like going into the net.
Yeah, the first game.
So was that period that you're referring to, Shivani, which were the short smashes, which were completely landing in the net?
No, I mean, a lot of returns did. I mean, this has been something that is, I have noticed it persistently throughout the World Championship, very frankly. That smashing from the net now, because it comes at a very weird length, and you're trying to hit it short because I think the opponents are slightly behind. So you're trying to explore that gap, but I'm not sure. I mean, coaches would be in a better position to figure out what is happening there.
Yeah, you'd expect that this is still a work in progress, right? Post-Paris. So by the time the Asian Games come around this time next year, we'll be in a better position to look at how far they've come. But beyond the medal, guys, what's the big takeaway when it comes to Satwik and Chirag? Like, what makes it a happy medal, as you guys put it? Vinayakk first, then Shivani?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, it's just what they went through in Paris and even post-Paris with all the injuries. I think that there is that wonderful first-person account that you spoke to, Satwik, for Mihir at the end of last year. It's worth a read, where he details what all went wrong in the lead-up, things that started going wrong out of nowhere when they were in great form before the Olympics, and then one by one it started unraveling. The pressure got to them, the draw was not very kind and all that jazz. And then after Paris, it got even more tough with, Satwik having to deal with his father's death earlier this year, then injuries as well, and Chirag then hurting his back, and one of their big dreams would have been to do well at All England. They had to retire from All England mid-match. I think at Singapore they said, Satwik was the one who said this, when I've been fit, he's been injured. When he's been fit, I've been injured. And he's probably doesn't even tell me half the time that he's injured. He's probably carrying a back injury and still playing without telling me and all that, right? So yeah, to go through all that, I think even the commentators have been talking about this. It's just, if both of them have a sustained, maybe a year of full fitness, and picking and choosing tournaments, they're going to be back close to the top. I mean, they're not world number 9s. I mean, that's their rank, but they're not the 9th best player in the world. They're higher than that, but it's just what they've been going through recently. So yeah, in that sense, it's a vindication, like what we had mentioned. It's vindication that they've been doing good work. They're on the right track, and hopefully they climb up the rankings. I mean, rankings are not important, but that will mean that they're in good form. So hopefully they get back to where they belong.
I'm just very happy that failures can really test friendships, and just the fact that their bond is very, very intact, very, very strong, probably stronger than before. They've gone through hell, okay, in this last 1 year. And for example, Chirag at All England, him actually playing through the pain because he knew that Satwik had, put in a lot of sort of mental effort to just be there and, play so soon after his father's demise. So I think the bond has built. That is great. Also, in the lead up to the Olympics, Aaron Chia and Soweik, as well as the Chinese, those are the people that they had lost to. Probably not the Malaysians, but the Chinese twice in 2 finals. So just in terms of the game style and in getting the confidence back that they can beat these people at a big stage, I think those 2 wins were very, very important. I think the same will happen with the second Chinese pair as well, where there will be doubts right now about how to sort of counter them. But finding that solution, working on it together, I think that's a great bond building thing as well. So that way, that medal is good. I think it'll be a far more precious medal than the last bronze.
Yeah. I mean, we're so used to watching doubles teams from another sport kind of always going at each other. So it's refreshing that here we have two men who bond pretty well on the court and off it too. I guess we just will focus a bit on the other big performance from the World Championships. That is PV Sindhu, guys. Completely surprised me. I don't know if either of you saw it coming, but the way she played in the round of 16, was it? When she defeated the Chinese Wang Zhiyi. Just the aggression, the energy, where was that for the last 2 years? Shivani, could you please put it in some kind of, make some sense of what Sindhu had been doing over the last 1 week?
No, I'll always back Sindhu against any Chinese. Okay, she just has the game. Whether she is in great form, not great form, whatever it is, she just has like their number. So there was no doubt that it's not going to be easy for the Chinese. But yeah, I mean, she still had to go ahead and get that win and play a very good game. So, she did that. And also, I think she played fairly well against the Indonesian as well, Wardani. But I think the opponent played better. So that's how the whole thing. But a sixth medal would have been nice, have put her ahead of the Chinese Zhang Ning. But yeah, I think the good thing about losses in Indian badminton is it keeps them hungry, They will sort of extend their careers. They'll look for solutions. They'll find new skills. So I hope she goes on and, she keeps at it because she has a win in her.
At the World Championship, forget the headlines that it would have created, but just the doubts it would have created in Sindhu's mind. I don't know how much hunger it would have had going into 2026, which is again an important year because of the number of competitions, big competitions lined up there. But Vinayk, are we happy that she came so close to another medal, or are we happy that she kind of put in a good proper fight? She looked fitter than she has in the last 12 or 18 months perhaps. Or is it a combination of everything? Are we just relieved that we saw Sindhu playing the way she can?
Yeah, I think it's probably the last one for me. I mean, she was probably not going to lose in the first round or the second round of the World Championships, given the draw. The first round, actually, she seemed to be struggling against that Bulgarian teenager, I think number 80 in the world or something, who had a game points in the opening game, but I'm sure Sindhu would have eventually won it anyway, but she still managed to win that in straight games. It was almost exact same in the second round against Lakshya Sen, Malaysia's player who dominated in the first game for the last part, but ended up dropping it, and then Sindhu ran through the second game. And then for her to start the way she did against Wang, Sindhu, I think Shivani has been writing about this quite a lot. Sindhu is a slow starter, right? She takes her time. Sometimes she drops the opening game, comes back, or even in the opening game, she's a slow starter. That match against Wang, she was just at it from the word go. And I think that was very pleasing for me to see. Wang is the second best player in the world this year. I mean, she would have had far many more titles if that An Se-young was not around. And, for Sindhu to dominate Wang like that, it was a very, very good sign. And in essence, it tells me that she's still capable of pushing these top players, And I mean, Wang is not exactly the younger generation because An Se-young and, even there are a few younger. Vardani is quite young. There is Tomoka Miyazaki. She pushed Vardani all the way and she beat Tomoka Miyazaki at China Open before eventually losing to Unnati. So these are good signs that she can hold her own against the younger, really young players, because she's been talking about that, right? I mean, the game is getting younger and younger and the rallies are getting longer and longer. The third game, I remember against Vardani, so many long rallies. And I think at one point, even Shivani mentioned in the blog also, I think, that this feels like Okuhara Sindhu 2017. It just felt like they were going at each other and Sindhu was lunging and diving. I'd never seen Sindhu put in a full-blooded dive. I mean, not never, but very rarely that happens. She has this very awkward-looking dive of going on the knees. That she was putting in full-fledged forward dives to get the shuttle back. It showed me, I mean, Sindhu at the World Championships is a different beast, and that will always be the case. Whether she has the same drive to do well on the tour, it's still up for debate. I mean, I don't think, and I think Shivani says this a lot, I don't think Sindhu is that kind of a player. So yeah, probably the next big focus is going to be that All England next year, and maybe the preparations start for it right now. And let's see, I mean, she's showing that she can still go toe-to-toe with these current lot. So that's a good sign. And I hope she builds on that. I hope she works on certain areas like the drops and the slices, the half smashes that cause her a lot of trouble. She can work on that a little bit more. But yeah, if she can keep up the power. And Bang actually said after the match that she was surprised by Sindhu's speed, which is a good thing. I mean, if Sindhu can surprise her top opponents with her speed at 30, then it's a good sign. Hopefully, the next World Championships is at home. So let's see. There is that All England and that home World Championships. Maybe still targets for Sindhu.
I think we should just, not us, but we should stop being imbeciles and absolute ignorant people and throwing age at Sindhu or anyone else. Like in badminton, these people work incredibly hard. They can play longer than the earlier generations. They work on their speed, which can make up for, and the power is still there in Sindhu's case. So I think she's 30 and, somebody like the Danish All England champion, twice All England champion, Rasmussen, Tina. Now, she also won the All England at 29 and 30, two back-to-back ones. So I think we should just get the age thing out of the whole debate and trust Sindhu to use her power and use the improved skills and speed to get those big wins. But again, she's not going to be absolutely consistent on the circuit. That is an unrealistic expectation for the sort of game that she plays. So yeah, All England is the next one.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that circuit, it's a completely different Sindhu. And when it comes to big tournaments, we see a completely different one. We are kind of coming towards the end of this episode. So we'll quickly move to the other big talking point. Of course, a big shout out to Dhruv-Tanisha Crasto doing pretty well in mixed doubles, coming close to a medal there too, which would have been a nice one. But I think the one that's constantly been a source of frustration for many badminton followers, and Shivani has written a nice big column on that as well, is Lakshya Sen. Shivani, you argue that he needs a major shake-up, and that has to be done to reboot his career. What's gone wrong with Lakshya? He's written to this again, if you were to talk about we'll not call it a redemption arc, but the whatever that replacement word arc will be for Satwik and Chirag. For Lakshya, return to Paris hasn't been that romantic.
The Shiuchi was tough, okay? I mean, he's in the finals today. He's world number 1. So that was going to be a tough match. But the thing is, I think just the way Lakshya's gone about it, what he does in the end stages repeatedly, tournament after tournament after tournament, he needs a good sort of singles coach. The Korean he's good at getting him trained, but I'm not sure, on the court, I think Vimal and Prakash sir, yes, of course. I mean, they were good at the Olympics, but I'm not very sure of the tactics from this particular coach.
Yu Yong-sung, you mean, huh?
Yeah. Also, he needs to take care of his back and his shoulder. So there are going to be limitations in his game. I think he's developed a good smash, which is like a forearm snap smash, which works well for him. But he cannot risk overtraining. That is another thing. He cannot risk overplaying also. So the entire schedule has to be very, very perfect. He needs to pick and choose his tournaments. He needs to pick where he wants to peak. So all those things are important, and overtraining will be disastrous.
Vinayakk, Lakshya Sen has been a source of many mood swings for you too. Were you kind of expecting a first round defeat over here because of the opponent he was facing, or you expected more and now you agree that he needs a complete reboot?
No, I was actually relatively satisfied with the performance at least he put in. I mean, it was one of the better performances that he has shown this year on tour. He did push Shiuchi all the way, but it's a 2-game match that was nearly an hour, if I remember right. I don't have the number in front of me, but 2-game match that was more than 50 minutes is not something that you see often, right? I mean, the rallies were long. He was under trouble at some point of time. But yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with Shivani. It feels like at times he comes across as, this is a very, casual observation. I'm not even sure if I should be saying this, but he feels like he's not there, fully mentally, right? When you see him on tour during a match, he drifts in and out of matches, has these spurts where suddenly he seems unplayable, and then has these spurts where he drops 10, 11 points and he's not able to arrest the slide. It just feels a very inconsistent sort of phase for Lakshya. And we can keep talking about the heartbreak of Olympics. I think there was a line in that Vimal Kumar interview that Shivani had done. How long do you talk about Olympics, right? The heartbreak was real. It was painful. It had a little bit of a consequence with what all that Coach Prakash had said and all that, but it's near now, right? You have to move on at some point of time. I'm not sure he's able to. Maybe that reset, what that Shivani is suggesting, is probably the way to go. It feels a little strange. I think his game is still there. It's just the niggles that keep bothering him. Probably not able to go at 100% all the time. And that's all these things. Yeah. He should find a way to just maybe find the joy in badminton again. Like smile a lot more, enjoy the points. He's far too serious looking on the court for still a kid, right? I mean, not even 25. So that's probably one way to maybe reset himself. And yeah, while we are on men's singles, I actually want to talk about HS Prannoy a little bit before we run out of time. It was just wonderful to see that fight he put up against Anders Anderson in the second round. Had match points. Should have taken the match, but man, I mean, at 33, I'm sorry, Shivani, so to bring up the age again, but at 33 to do what he did against one of the best informed players in the world at one point, Anderson looked proper rattled. Just Prannoy is one of the cleverest, smartest, shrewdest players we've had in badminton. And even if his body is not reacting the way he wants it to, these are his words, not mine. The body is not reacting the same way it used to, but the mind is still there. The game is still there. It was just really good to see that. And he's probably hinting at retirement plans already. He's said it that he maybe has just one more World Championships left in him, which would be at home again, like we mentioned, next year. So yeah, we're probably in the last stretch for Prannoy. So hopefully he can get something good in the next whatever months he has left in him.
Both Prannoy and Srikanth, they are absolute entertainers. They're absolutely paisa vasool players, okay? Like, even if they're losing, the match will be like a proper spectacle, a proper show. So I think both should take a shot at the All England as well. They've been defining players of this generation. And they should push because the games are way too good to, just sort of drift off into retirement. Fitness is an issue.
Perfect. So that's plenty of gains from these World Championships, which I'll put my hand up and say that I didn't really expect so many pleasant surprises and good things to look forward to come the next World Championship and the cycle running up to that for every player. I guess that's one big takeaway from Paris, whether medal or no medal. And I guess that's about it. The time we have for this week's episode. This is a World Championship month, so we will be focusing on quite a few of them. Thanks again for listening to this week's episode of Game Time. We will be back with a new episode next week.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.